Kia ora te whānau, and welcome to part 2 of tu. E is for tu, to stand. This is my nīkau palm base. This is what I've done so far, and I've done a little test on how to make the palm frond of this is my little experiment, and it worked. So yay, I'm going to do maybe another 2, maybe 3, but I'll take you through the steps of how I made this. And I've folded the fabric so I could draw the pencil line without that showing up. So I'm going to just roughly sketch around the outline of this. So I've got a 9B pencil, which I find is nice and soft to get my lines. Now I'm going to cut this out. Yeah. Thanks for sticking by me, by the way. My sound of last week's part 1 is not the best. I don't know what happened. It was working fine, and after I uploaded, not so great. Yeah, anyway, I don't know how to get that fixed. But thanks for sticking by me and being patient with me. Hopefully the sound this week will be a lot better. Anyway, chop this off. So I'll now put them right sides together. And the first thing I did, I get my little applique pins, as K3N, Catherine would say. And I'm just going to hold them together. The idea is that, well, what I did first on this one here, I just went down the spine very roughly with a thin sewing thread, and then with how many, I kept the ends here of some yarn that I had left over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There were 8 ends that I went through down the actual main spine. Then I did running stitches down here, and in every second piece of running stitch in between there I threaded 10-ply cotton. This is Finch 10-ply, but you can use anything. I just thought the cotton would be nice, and it's a nice thickness, so I'm going through double threaded in between each layer. But I'll show you when we get to that part. Fine cotton to start with. So I'm just going to choose one side to be the wrong side and one side to be the right side. It doesn't really matter. I like this, so this will be fine. So I'm roughly going to do a running stitch down the center, and I'm kind of eyeballing it. Well, definitely eyeballing it. I'm going to keep the running stitch not too big. I did do a big stitch there before, but just taking small bites and running that down the center on both sides, and then I will thread cotton through. Trapunto, I think that's what it's called. It's a quilting an Italian quilting method. I first saw it on Marion's World, and I thought, aha, this is an opportunity to use Trapunto. So I'll just finish going up and down here, and I'll come back to you when I've done the center. I can already see I've gone a bit on the wonk here, but that's fine. It's organic. Okay, so I finished going down there, and I'll just show you how I strengthened this with my thread. So I'll just see, I've got some threaded here already. I've got a blunt needle here, and I'm just going to measure. I want to put it through 4 pieces through, and then thread another 4 pieces. So what I'll do is go through here and Make sure it goes in between the lines and not underneath any of the stitches, which is what happened before. There we go, that's easier. So pull that through. I'll leave a little tail out there and I'll sew that in so it gives it more structure. Now I'm just going to go back in to here and go down, and I'm going to make sure I get in between the stitches and not under the stitches and out. So I'll pull that through. There we go. And pull that through, keeping the tail here and just pulling this through. There we go. So I've got a little bit sticking out here and a little bit here. That's fine. I would like to put another 2 pieces. You can see I went on the wonk there, but that's fine. So I'll measure. I want it there and do that again. And this is one of those needles that has a little hook on the end here, so I'm going to use that just to push down there, so that should be easy to get through. And it's a lot easier now to make sure I'm going between the stitches and not accidentally going underneath any of the stitches. Getting quite tough to pull it through, but that's excellent because I want a bit of structure in this. Okay, I'm going to leave the tail hanging out there and go back the other way and loop similar to that, and then I'll work out how to tidy this up when I put the leaves of the fronds, the frond leaves of the palm on there later. Here we go. There we go, and pull that. So I'm happy with that. That has given it a nice firm spine, which is exactly what we want. And I'll tidy these pieces up later. Same with this. If I hold it up, it's going to give me a good shape. So with all the other stitches in place and the other channels being filled with the cotton thread, it's going to sit up nicely. I'm going to use some pearl cotton because I want a little bit of strength. I've got some threaded here already, so I'll use up this thread. I'm going to put a knot at the bottom. This doesn't matter that it's not matching up because I'm going to blanket stitch around. So that's what I've done here, just for more structure. I've blanket stitched around there, and that will just all pull together. So I'm going to, this is my wrong side at the moment. I'm going to just go up and down like a sashiko stitch here. I will put another, this is another channel, I'm just going to put 2 strands just to strengthen this instead of 8, and then I'll do every second one. That's the plan. So just doing the running stitches. When I get to this part here, I'm going to make a stitch but put it in between the 2 layers and then start the next channel. So I'm just going to do some more running stitches back and forth, creating the channels for the structure of the palm frond. There you go. And I've pulled these a little bit tight just to help start the pulling together to get that bowl shape that I need for the frond. So I'm going to take a little stitch here and put that in between the two layers like so, bring that up and then along to the next side there. Today is Waitangi Day, which is celebrating the signing of the Te Reo Ma o Waitangi, the Treaty of Waitangi. And as a special treat, I recorded the Powhiri and some Waiata while we were on the marae. So I'm going to stop talking now, and so you can sit back and relax and stitch along with me and enjoy the sounds of a very local Waitangi Day. look up, I'm going to show you something now. So I've finished doing all of the running stitches on the nīkau palm frond. I've got some thread left, so I'm going to go down this edge here to the bottom in a blanket stitch, and to pull the thread out, loop it, and then go into the fabric, take a bite, and then come through this loop, pull the needle through, and that gives me my blanket stitch. Again, I bring the thread around, needle in and through, so around, needle in, up and through. So I'm going to do this down the edge, and I'm going to pull it tight so you can see that the fabric hasn't perfectly lined up, but that is okay. I am going to just pull it tight so it makes the edge straighter. There we go. I'll do that on the other side as well. I'm going to be keeping this edge here open to about here as well, because I'll be threading the 10-ply yarn through in Trapunto style-ish kind of vibe. And that'll do. I'll just finish it there. So I wanted to unthread at that point. So what I'm going to do, I want to have some yarn running next to the spine just for extra strength. I'm going to skip this one, then go into this one, skip, go into that one, skip, go into that one, skip, and go into that one. That should give me a nice edge on the side. So I can thread this fabric through. I'm going to use my quick unpick, and just to put a slit, this is I'll do it on this side. This is what I want to be as my wrong side. This is where I've got all my knots. So I want the yarn to go through here and skip one, and then I'll go through here. So I'm going to just get a small piece of the fabric, pull that up, make sure it's not on the other side, just this side, and put a small hole. So I'm going to skip one, do the same again, put my quick unpick in there, only through one layer, not through that layer, and just do a small hole there, and skip one again, through there, only one layer, oops, make sure it's only one layer, that's the idea. No, it wants to be two, that's better, I can feel it's just one layer. Put that through, skip that one, and then go through here, only one layer. Two layers again. Here we go, just one layer. Tail going through here. I am now going to go through the very base here, and I'm going to go along the spine just with the thread, so whoops, and try not go under any of the stitches, just alongside the stitches, and I'm going to bring it out in between there. So pull that through, there we go. Over here, skip this one, and then go down here, and again remembering to go through the stitches and not under any of them, and through that little hole that I made. And that should loop there, which I can hide that when I blanket stitch this together. So I'm going to just give it a little tug, just to give it a little bit of structure there, just to bring it in a bit. That'll do. And the reason why I did this little cut here is so it doesn't show on on this side, and it'll be nice and tidy. That's going to be facing on the outside of the trunk. So now I'm going to skip this channel, and this little hole here I'm going to go up into this channel. This is all going to be on the inside, so we won't see that at all. I'll go up through here again, pull that through, and pull that. And then skip this channel and then go down this channel, which is where the next hole will be. There it is. And pull that through. And I'll just use the blanket stitch along here to hide all that. And then I've got one more channel here, which is along the edge, and I'm going to bring that up and through. And pull that a little bit so that starts to give that rounded shape that you see on a nīkau palm, like this. So that will sit like that, so it's going to have a profile like that. So I will go along and do the rest of that and come back to you when I'm ready to do the blanket stitch on the edge here. I'm just finishing that off. So this isn't even, as you can see. So I'm just going to use the blanket stitch to close that shut and just use it as its wonkiness and organicness. We're just going with the flow and making stuff up here, and it'll give me a nice raw edge in some cases and a folded over edge in other cases. It'll just tidy that up like that. There we go. I'll just tie this off with a back stitch and a knot. Now I have completed it. I want this to be curved a little bit more, so I'm going to use the little loops here to pull the work a little bit more, giving me more structure. Yeah. Yes, and I'm happy with that now. So I'm going to just do a running stitch along the bottom here, just to anchor the threads that I have sewn in. So I'm just going to go in and out and anchor these in before I trim them, and trim all these off. Yeah. So my next step is to bring these in here like that. I'm going to bring that in, fold that over to hide that blue thread a little bit, and stitch it down. Then fold that underneath, stitch that down, pull that tight, make sure that's sort of sitting, put some stitches through to keep that all held together. And I'm just whip stitching the end here, putting some more threads through the yarn I've pulled through, and I'm going to fold this in to here again, hiding those blue threads. There we go. So I now have 2 fronds. One will sort of overlap the other. I will deal with these ends when I put on the leaves. I think I might be able to get away with 3. So what I did to make the growth lines on the nīkau palm, I think there's enough room here to put another, and kind of give myself some space there. So I want to do another growth ring around here. So how I did that, and I'm just going to go just a simple running stitch in and out, so that it's very organic the way I'm doing this, as you may have guessed. And I've used an eco-dyed blanket. It's got onion skins and all sorts of other things, which I can't remember because I did it a long time ago and I didn't put any notes down. So I'm just going to continue around the edge until I get to the beginning. Here we go. And snip that one off. And then I bring it open like this, and this was the edge that I've just sewn. So that is how I did it, and it really helps with it standing up. I'm going to next fold this down and stitch it down around here so it will be easier to attach my fronds. And I think I've changed my mind about how I'm going to do the roots, which I was originally going to do. I'm actually going to just cut that off, and I will couch this down, and the same with this, I'll cut this one off as well, and I'll couch these down at different places of the, just for texture and interest, and because I like couching, and then I think I'll be done with that. And that just represents the roots, but it's not going to be dangling it down. I've changed my mind. Okay, it's the next day, and I have finished the third nīkau palm frond of my e2 statement, to stand like a tree. So I have cut out some fabric, and I'll just show you what I've done here. I've got 2 pieces here with the right sides facing. So I'm going to, just to show you what I'm doing, I'll just draw the lines, hopefully you can see them. So I'm going to cut, leaving sort of enough along the spine so it doesn't fall apart, and I'm going to cut it upwards like this, and like that, like a frond, and then my tree falls down. So I'll just pop that over there, and then I'm going to cut them. I'm just going to cut that in a straight line and cut between these lines here. And what I've done with this one here, I scrumpled it in my hands a little bit. I'll show you with this one. So it was nice like that, and then I just did this a little bit just to rough up the edges a little bit and get it looking a little bit more palm frondy like. There we go. So what I've done on the inside here is I folded the top over so it's nice and tidy. I then sewed a strip of the silk on the inside, and just to sort of pull it up a little bit, I threaded through my cotton just so that the this sat in nicely, and sewed in a piece of cotton like I did in the palm fronds, and I'm just going to tie a knot there and cut that off like that. It'll be on the inside. Oh well, no. So that is kind of sitting like that, and it'll help with the frond, the palm frond sort of sitting in there when I sew them in. So my next thought is I have folded over the edges to make that a point. I'll show you how to do that. So I open up the fabric like this. I'm going to trim the cotton right back. Like so. So then I've got two bits. I'm going to fold it over once and fold it over again. Put a little pin in. Just to hold that for now. I'll tack that down with some stitches. Now I'm going to, the pointy with the smallest cut, that is going to be this end of the frond, and then the longest piece is going to be at the bottom of the frond. So I'm going to line it up to the top. I'm going to have the fabric, the right side of the fabric facing this way because it's going to fall naturally over, and I'll just tack it down, and I'll just sew it on the side of where I threaded my Trapunto style cotton through there. I'm just going to pin it on there. Get my pincushion a bit closer. And it is a little bit long, so I can now just cut that off diagonally. And the idea, I'll get the other one. Where's the other one? There it is. So I'll pin that at the top. Pin that down. And that is a bit long, but that's alright. I did that on purpose, just in case, and that's fine. So I'm going to stitch that down with my fine thread. I'm going to go underneath and in between the two stitches to hide my knot, and do a back stitch to fasten it off. There we go. I don't want to unpin these because I sort of got them perfect. And there we go. And I'm just going to do a tiny running stitch, taking small bites of fabric on both sides. So the letter that I was focusing on was E2, and that means to stand, is Te Reo Ma for to stand or stand up. And I thought I was going to make a kauri, but it wanted to be a nīkau palm. So there you go. Who knows what it's going to turn out like. And I completely made it up as I went along. I keep on running outside and looking at the nīkau palm near the bathroom for reference, and then running back inside and going, oh yeah, I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to do that thing. Got it wrapped around one of the little things. So I'll continue sewing along there and go down the side, and just so you can see how it's going to be. Some of the nīkaus that I saw, like the ones at the retirement village where I was house sitting there last week, some of the fronds were standing up like this, and then some of the really tall ones had actually were quite relaxed and sort of more drapey. So I'm going for the drapey look. I could put, if I wanted it to stand up more upright, I could put maybe a piece of very thin wire in there, but I don't have any, and I'm just going to work with what I have for now. I will finish stitching down here, sew all of those on, and then come back when it's time to actually sew it together, because I've just got it pinned at the moment. And then I need to put a base on here, which I'll just do a circle and stitch that on. I might do that with you, and then it'll be completed. I'm excited. Anyway, see you in a bit. So I have now sewn on all of the palm frond leaves, and there were some of them I needed to cut them a little bit deeper, so that has worked out, and I've sewn them all together and I've overlapped the palm fronds together. Now I was wondering, I was going to, the other thing I've done is couched some more pieces onto here, and I have just pinned it in 3 places, put a base on here. But then I had a thought. I have a battery operated candle, and I thought what I could do is pop that there. It's got a remote control, so I can pop that there, have the palm frond sitting like that, and I could turn on the candle and some of the light will sneak out. Some of the light sneaks out around the base, and if I just sew a little bit here, there's bits of light that pop out there. So I thought that would be quite cool. So I kept standing regardless of what the doctors told me, that I would never walk again after my accident. I'm standing as a form of silent protest. I did not accept their narrative or what they were telling me. So I will keep standing, and I will keep standing up for what I believe in as well. So, the little intent that I had while I was thinking about making this project, about my intent for standing, is that this stitch remembers pain, this stitch remembers fear, this stitch remembers standing, and this stitch remembers I did it anyway. That was my intent. Of course I pulled the thread out, didn't I? So I'll just sew it a little bit so that light can escape from there. I was going to do that bottom, but now I've decided not to. I'm going to put my candle in instead. I'll take a picture this evening if I can get a good photograph of it, maybe at dusk or something, so you can see how cool it will look with the candlelight. I'm just gonna keep stitching this here. I was sitting on my veranda just before stitching quietly, and I heard a noise sort of rustling underneath, and then from under the step I saw this little brown head sticking out, and it was one of the wekas, and it was not impressed that I was sitting there. It kept on sticking out its head going, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And finally the whole thing came out. Unfortunately my camera was in the stand. I would have grabbed it and taken a shot for you, but it's super cute. It was not impressed that I was sitting there while it wanted to run away from underneath, and it was funny when it was sticking its head out. It was very cute. I wonder where my needle is. Here it is. So I'll just stitch this together. I'm calling this a success, and it's done. And I really like putting the light inside. I mean, for me, light represents hope and something to look forward to. So I think that's a really cool idea for my little nīkau palm. I can pop that up on the top of my yarn cupboards, and then I can, when I'm lying in bed in my loft, I can look at it, and I can set this candle to be on for a couple of hours, and then it will just turn off. A very cool project to do. Okay, I'm going to go off and do this. I don't have the coordination to do this and talk and stitch and film all at the same time at the moment. So I'll go away, finish this, and this evening I will film it completed with the little candle inside. Ka kite anō.